If you want to be my friend, you better go and get a pen. Maybe when you get high, like I did in the old days, but I know I wish you well. Sign your pen pal. We never not sing.
I know.
What a moment. What a real moment for the loyal listeners.
You know what we used to also do?
Patrick Keenan of the Winter Sounds. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, go to Apple, rate, review, subscribe. Tell people. Just tell people this show is worth your time. Just tell people that. Here's the thing. If you're listening right now and you like this show, hit pause, go to Apple Podcast for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a big review.
You might already be there.
If you like the show. If you're sitting here going, well, I've never heard the show. Daniel and I do not want dishonest reviews for the sake of a review. If you like this show, go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review or whatever it is, 4 stars, I don't even know, and write. I think people would like this show if they just gave it a chance or whatever you want to write.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how far that helps our show get.
I agree.
So if you like it, do it. And if you don't like it, don't do it. And if you don't like it and you're willing to keep listening, give us a chance to win you over.
Yeah. Now we only have 1 month left of shows.
Until it's
all over.
What
if that was how casual we were about it? People are like, what?
And so now this is our last show. We're still asking for that. This is the last show.
What percentage do you put? I want a real, if it was me and you on a drive somewhere.
You'll get one.
What percentage do you put that we get Michael Keaton on the show someday?
Is it crazy that I genuinely think 100%? Yeah. I genuinely am. I am convinced it will happen.
I swear on Rochelle, I'll tell you what my percentage was.
101%.
7.
That we will?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't think we'll get him?
I just put the odds right now at like about 7%. What do we have to give us the confidence of 100? I want it.
Just spirit.
So bad.
I have spirit. Yes, I do.
I have spirit. Okay.
But what I want to know is, how about you, Daniel?
I have spirit, but you can't. Spirit don't dig a ditch.
It can.
No, it can't.
Ghosts. You don't think ghosts dig ditches to try to kill
Wouldn't that
people?
Be the worst.
Spirits dig ditches.
Well, no, I'm just saying your life as a ghost is still doing your job.
Oh, my God. On the next Family Members.
On a very special Family Members. Grandpa's not around anymore, but he's still clocking in.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know why I think it's 100%.
I love the optimism. I don't want to sway you.
I'm fully convinced.
Because we both have our reasons.
I'm fully convinced.
You think it'll be a live one, like at Largo?
Yes. Or somewhere.
When we were with Jay Larson, I don't know which order this comes out. Is it after?
This is before.
Oh. When we have Jay Larson
in
on
the
later,
future,
and we mentioned Ian Ziering, I thought it'd be great to have Ian Ziering on the podcast.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes,
100% we will.
But even somebody like Tony Danza, who we also talk about with Jay later in the future, is. Do you ever think somebody's like he's like, yeah, I'd do one of those podcasts. Nobody asks me.
I think
he's like, I would do. But
I think that is true for more people than you'd think.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and you go, you can't get them. And I go, I bet you actually could.
Dude.
If they could just, here's the thing. They have to hear an episode and decide and go, oh, they sound like they are fun to hang out with.
I've seen TikTok accounts of people's podcasts, and they are talking to people that I'm like, how the fuck did this podcast in Indiana?
They just tried.
Yes.
They just asked.
Yes.
I think you and I both know it in this business.
I'm saying what you've already affirmed.
Persistence.
But Chad and Lissa, you can affirm or deny as well. Isn't it just there's a very real possibility that somebody of the notoriety and the I don't know
just say a star.
Yes.
A star.
Like Tony Danza is like, I'd do a podcast. Just no, I've never been asked to do one.
I don't know where you do them.
Nobody asked me to do one.
Yeah. I think actually a lot of those people, a higher percentage, is nervous about doing it. But it isn't them going, I actually think I'm above this.
No,
I don't think that's the case.
I agree.
I think there's a high percentage of them going, oh, I'm going to bomb or not be funny, or I'm not, I will. I think maybe people think a certain thing of me, and if I come on here and I'm like a dud, I don't want them to know I'm a dud. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's true for some people. I think there's a fear of it
Well,
because you and I do this as our job. That doesn't mean an author or an actor, even an actor, where you would go, yeah, but it is their job. But it isn't. To be themselves is not their job specifically. Whereas you and I, this is just an extension of what we have been doing for, over a decade.
I don't think he would ever do it. But like, who's to say that even somebody like Stephen King wouldn't be like, oh, that's fascinating to me. You guys get these letters and you learn about people's lives?
Yeah.
I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, are you kidding me? I'm a storyteller.
Do you know him? Do you know Stephen
We know
King?
of each other.
We will get him 100%.
Do you really think this?
Can I?
I'm sorry. I'm beating a dead horse. I love your enthusiasm.
I do think it. I mean, you couldn't change it. You couldn't change it if you legitimately were arguing right now.
I know. I will not because I want it to happen.
I know, but I'm saying it's a hypothetical. If you were legitimately arguing right now that it's just not possible to get Michael Keaton, it still wouldn't convince me because it's not me that's being swayed by what you could make great points, and I would just sit there going, I know, it's beyond me that is certain it will happen.
I hope we do.
It's beyond me.
I hope we do.
Let's go to the letters.
For the record, caught both mine.
And mine.
True. Are you going? I'm going. Right?
It's you.
Okay. Dear pals and pal nation.
Love it. Nice
Welcome to
intro.
this letter. Let's get right into it. Like millions of Americans during the Great Resignation, I quit my high-paying but high-stress job with unpredictable hours in consulting and joined a large nonprofit organization. There were many reasons why I quit, which I won't get into now, but basically, I took a 50% pay cut for a lower stress job, a more regular schedule, and to try something new.
Sounds good to me.
I kept in touch with my old consulting colleagues. After some informal talks and meetings, I am set to rejoin my old company after only 10 months in the nonprofit world. I read somewhere that the term is called boomeranging because, of course, there's a term for everything. They gave me my old job with a 20% raise and the potential to carve my own career path within the firm. And now I have a better understanding of how to put up better boundaries and manage my time better to prevent future burnout. We'll see how it goes.
Good for you.
I thought I had enough pride to not go back to any old jobs, but as someone with a family and a mortgage, I had to swallow that pride for better financial security. My question for you pals is, would you return to any of your previous jobs? If so, which one and why? Y'all are the best. Your pal, Rob from Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes. We have reviewed your application for letter acceptance.
And we are more than overjoyed.
Mulling it.
Oh, we're still mulling it.
I don't know. Okay. But
First off, congrats for having the audacity to quit your job.
Yeah, there's room here for thoughtful response and commentary on his situation, and then it's also fun because we could talk about a job we would go back to and why of the ones we've done, and I know we've both done quite a few.
Yeah.
I bet I could pick one of yours. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What do you think, Roar?
I think that it makes sense that at a point in your life, you were like, you know what, I'd rather just take less money because the stress is killing me. I don't like the schedule, and I want, like you said, try something new.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is very commendable because that dollar sign is what keeps a lot of people who can.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who can't. They don't have choices.
Sure.
But if you do have the choice and you think you can make it work, I think there's something to be said about taking that leap because you know what's good for you. And the stress is not good for you. The schedule is not good for you. You felt like you're being taken advantage of. So I think that's very commendable. I think that's an awesome awesome thing to do. On the flip side of that, people who don't have the choice and are stuck in jobs because they need money, they're stuck in 2 jobs, 3 jobs. They can't afford to even live in this country because they aren't taken care of enough through their wages or any of their healthcare, what have you. Put an area of grace for those people in your heart when you see them, because they can't just go, you know what, I actually want to quit and I'm going to go try something else, because you know they would if they could, that they're not happy and they're just making it work, oftentimes not for themselves. They're doing it for the sacrifice of a loved one, their kids, their parents, if they're supporting them. So keep that in mind when it comes to people with jobs. Know that a lot of people don't fucking want to do the job that they have, and sadly, we live in a society where they can't do those things. On to my second point, Daniel and I are very fortunate because while we took a risk at a job that had no money for a very long time, I will say with absolute certainty we did it because it truly brought us joy and happiness, and it was a fun fucking job. Now, during that time period, early on in our careers, we were working jobs. I was working jobs, several jobs, to try to make it work, while I aimed at trying to one day be in a position like this, where we have a podcast and we can entertain people and I can get on stage or I can act in things. Were
any of those jobs very stressful? By nature, I would expect they shouldn't have been, because that's not why you were there. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think that was a big relief. My first job when I moved to D.C., hint, this is a DC letter, and that's how we work it. But my first job was working for a consulting firm, and I was just basically a secretary, but it was for a consulting firm.
We had this guy, his name was Rob. He's always like, "Oh, my family," and he was like, "Do your fucking job." I don't know what happened to that guy.
I don't know what happened to him, but he ruined our company.
And you're like, and then they hired him back.
Yeah, but my job was like very stress-free because there wasn't a lot for me to do, but also because my focus was not that job. Now,
which is interesting, because
if I needed that job,
you set boundaries at that job.
Yeah,
they knew
where
you wanted to be.
Yeah. And I think they appreciated that, because I think they were also like, great, so this guy, just pay him this and we'll increase it a little bit over time, but he's not trying to
move up.
He's not trying to move up, so we don't have to sit here going, oh, well, we got to move Daniel up. He's been here for 2 years. That was not the case with me, and I think they maybe appreciated that. But I think the fact that you went back and you got to do it on your own terms and you got even more money is a pretty awesome thing to do, because again, you made another choice for yourself, and you said, "Oh, I don't mind going back. I will go back." And now I've said it in this rate. So I think both decisions are impressive. It's hard to do that. It's hard to take a leap like that.
A couple of things too. You obviously left amicably, so that's a lesson learned right there.
Yeah.
You never know where you're going to go back. In our world, we've talked about this. Your opener 3 years ago could be a showrunner next year.
Yeah.
So
could be a massive movie star.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, if when possible, don't give people more kindness than they've earned, but when possible, keep things amicable. You never know. He ended up back there. Yeah. He obviously also gave this company the opportunity to see what almost a year without him was like.
Yes.
And they're
smart.
Man, they're like, we want you back.
Yeah.
Right.
You're a valuable player.
Yeah. I think for me, I did have a bit of a career path for a while. I mean, you started essentially 10 years before I did.
Yeah.
And I remember the stress, those Sunday night blues. Yeah. And it's so funny because in those times, because doing what we do now, and you have as well, I've had extremely super stressful laying on the couch in the middle of the day with the lights off for a minute.
Yeah.
But if someone would have said to me in that first career path I went down, you're super stressed, I go, yeah. And they go, well, do you wish you could quit? I would go, obviously.
Yeah.
And then in this scenario, somebody goes, Daniel, you super stressed? I go, yeah. And they go, do you want to quit? I'd go, no.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Well, also, it's a different flavor of stress.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when someone maybe it isn't what you love. They always say do what you love. I'm always like, no, work what you love.
Yeah.
Because it's still work.
Yeah.
Work what you love.
Yeah.
I think about that, like you said, yes, you took that pay cut, but giving yourself that stress, saying like, I don't need this much stress. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't know it was just going to be almost a year-long break, but it was.
Right.
So healthy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Roar, if any of the things you ever did would have turned into a career path for you, which one would you do again?
That's so interesting.
Would you go back to?
I don't totally know.
I have an answer for you, but I'm curious.
I when you said that, I actually would like to hear it. I actually would like to start there.
If it was your own, your own career, it was your own cart. You were.
But we're talking about going back to an old job.
Being a painter.
Yeah,
painting.
I think
like you go in. All right, here's how much I would charge you.
Yeah.
You get your music or your podcast or your news or whatever it is, or a book on tape, which doesn't count as reading, and you would paint. And I just see you being like, I did a good fucking job in here. Well, I just kind of I could see a Rory who's like,
I think it's definitely not an office related thing for me.
No,
but I think
it's performative. There is something performative in being a painter, even if it's just walls.
Well, I think
did you do a good job?
Because it wasn't like that. I love doing that, but I think in the world of going, if I had to go back, I would approach it differently because I would then go, because my focus is not on stand up or this other career. And I really am here going, all right, the money I make painting is that is all the money that I have. I'm going to focus on not only learning how to do this, but I would then set a goal where I would go, my goal is to have my own company. That is a paint company.
Yes.
Like I would set that.
You'd still
as
be an
the
entrepreneur.
Thing. Yeah, because I often tell people if I couldn't do this anymore, I think I would coach. I would make an attempt to coach college soccer.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would, but already I know the route that I would take to try to get back into that mindset of getting to that level and then trying to work my way up. Now, I'm not saying that is easy at all. This is all fantasy talk.
Of course.
But in my mind, my goal would be, I want to coach at a high level. So this is my goal is to do that.
You think you'd love it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if I'd love it, but I think.
Did you ever coach at all?
Yeah, I coached like little kids when I was in high school, and then I coached. Yeah, in high school I coached a little bit, but not really much. And also way too young to really like coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. It was fine. The shitty part about it is you just want to coach kids, but it's less coaching kids and it's more
dealing with
juggling parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a guy come up to me. And this is a girls' team. I want to say they were like U8, U9. I mean, it was young.
Yeah.
And this guy came up, and he was furious that I had put his daughter in goal. Now, granted, there must have been 5 people that rotated because no one really wanted to play it. No one did.
Right.
So it was just her turn.
Yeah.
He was furious, and he had told me that he saw his daughter as more of a Mia Hamm style player, and I started to laugh a little bit because I thought it was ridiculous. I was like, "They're 8. Like, what are you talking about?" And but I quickly realized this guy's dead serious, and he's one of those dads. And I was like, "Oh, his approach to this is actually going to be so harmful for this kid, unfortunately, and it's going to ruin." A sport that she might have liked. Mm-hmm. She might have also just been out there because her dad tells, you're great, you're going to do this, you're going to do these things. But it made the games so unfun. It made practice so unfun that this other person just had to be there to tell you what their daughter needed. And you couldn't go. Your inability to separate and allow your child to just be in the world is fucking awful. And I'm telling you that, and I am a senior in high school. And I am like... This is not good for your life. And also, I hate it. So I didn't coach after that. I was like, I don't want to deal with fucking parents. And I was too young to be like, give me some 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I'll coach 16-year-olds.
Right.
But.
Well, then you got parents being like, they're going to college for this. And you're like,
maybe.
Are they?
Yeah, maybe. That's why I think I could do it now because I have that perspective. And also, at 42, you would be talking to parents who you're actually older than, doesn't that kind of blow your mind? That if I went and coached a 16-year-old team, I'm probably older than the parents.
Yeah.
And you just go, I've played college soccer. None of you know what you're fucking talking about. So just fucking sit back and fucking listen. I will tell you what, you would be surprised. There's a high percentage of parents that wants that guy to be the coach where you go, I understand you guys want to come to practice. None of you are allowed at practice. And I don't want to fucking hear what position your kid plays. More than half will go, I like this guy because I want to come watch the game. And I want to know if someone goes, do you think your kid will play college soccer? A guy who shows up and says, I know what the fuck I'm doing and everyone needs to stay out of my way. If you're smart, you would go, I bet this guy knows how to get my kid into a college soccer team. Because that's how my club coach was. Yeah. And he's right. He was right. But yeah, I think, that would be like a fantasy thing. It's not, in terms of this question, that's not a job I really had that I'd go back to, but that is a fantasy I've always had in my mind. Now, granted, I could go try to do that and go, oh, I fucking hate, I hate this and I hate the hours that it takes. But because it's so hands-on and I'm not an office guy and it's a sport that I really do understand how to play, I think I'm drawn to that. What about you? What would you go back to?
I don't want to dig graves
Daniel.
again. I know. I thought about that. Do I want to go back to being a federal agent? I would have ended up probably transferring.
It almost sounds like that is a bit, but it's not. And the fact that it's not a bit makes it funnier than if it was a bit.
I don't want to be a door guy again.
I don't know if I want to go back to being a federal agent.
I don't want to be a door guy again. I really loved working at Second City. It was so much fun, but it was also torture because I'm like,
what did you do there?
Showed people to their seats, made nachos, restocked the bar.
That's not you.
I know, and I'm so close to the campfire, but I'm not.
You're also on the other side of the wall, and you're like, I'm good enough to be able to.
Yeah. So it was. I really loved farming, but it's very solitary, and I think I would not like that part of it.
That's less of a job and more of a lifestyle.
Sure. So I think probably bartending. With the same thing as I would have my own bar.
I could see that.
Because I get such gratification of when people come into the bar, like, this is good music. I really like the lighting. And you're like, let's just stay here. I know we're supposed to go to dinner, but I really like this bar.
You know what I always like? This is why I'm saying this because this is how I picture you. I always like it when the owner, it's the owner of the bar, but they just see that they're busy and they just step in and go, what are you having? Yeah. And you're like, owner's gonna make it, and the owner's like, wait, old fashioned.
I'll just grab it. Yeah.
There you go, old fashioned, and helps out even at a pizza place or whatever. You just see the owner go, look, let me just prove to you, no one gave me this job. I fucking worked up. I know all the fucking positions, and they jump in and they do it, and then they go, you guys feel like you're caught up? All right, I'm gonna go back over here, have my drink, and watch the game. And I always just like, oh, how fun. It's like you got subbed into the game and they go, just give us 2 good minutes.
Yeah.
Just 2 good minutes back on the bench.
Yeah.
I could see that. You being like, I started bartending here and then I saved enough and I thought, oh, fuck it, I'm going to buy the place. So I got rid of this. I put the pinballs over there. I did you're like, it's fun now. And you're like, anyways, let me get out from in the bar. Let's go chat.
Yeah. I would love it. I think that would be my thing.
Yeah.
This was good.
I would like that too, and I've never done that.
I did
work at a pizza place.
It feeds the same.
I did work at a pizza place, and I did cherish that.
Yeah.
But also, that might have been my age where I cherished
we love this. As always, if you're listening, you can let us know a job that you had that you would go back to. Or
that's right, Rob.
Rob, we wish you well.
Rob.
Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel.
Rory Scovel, Daniel Van Kirk.
That counts.
That counts. And we're back. What is the date?
21st.
Fuck.
You watch your mouth.
Wait, where am I? Where am I and when? Oh, I'm at my friend's wedding, and you guys can't come to that. So I'm going to take that off my website and the ticket link. I don't know why I put that up there. He's going to be livid.
You get to a wedding, and you're like, hey, I invited some of my fans.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
guys,
said, okay.
You have an open bar.
I do a Patreon, and I sold some tickets.
This is the meet and greet.
Yeah. All of your rooms are actually for my fans.
Can we get some of that block code?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you mind if they cut the cake before you guys do?
Hey, go to danielvankirk.com if you want to hang out with me in the South.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Louisiana and Texas, some dates in there. Those might be my last official tour dates of the year.
Yep.
And then I'm doing Nashville, Chicago, and Brooklyn. Sklarz and I are doing Live Dumb People Town and a stand-up show thrown in there. And then Rory and I will be doing, you're doing Zany's Nashville at the end of October, and then we'll both be in Houston for the Come and Take It Comedy Festival.
Yep.
Everything's up at danielvankirk.com.
Yes. Let's go back to here it is.
We did it, right?
Yeah.
Ready? Whoa, what was that, The Matrix?
Got it. Dear Rory and Daniel.
No, it doesn't. I feel bad for all the people who are like, why would they write it in like that?
Who are those people?
A lot.
I saw Rory out on this recent tour. And during the show, he said something that really resonated with me. He was talking about sex and how weird and hard it is to be so vulnerable within sex, within sex. Within sex.
I knew it.
You cannot write within sex. You can't.
Well, no,
I know that you can.
It's so hard to be so vulnerable within sex.
It still sounds like it. It sounds like I'm having sex with bugs, and that's where I'm hung up. Even with his wife, who is a human, someone he's been with for years. It's something I'm working on in sex therapy right now. Parentheses, talk therapy, digging into hang-ups and complexities or nuances around things like sexual identity, sexual intimacy, fetishes, etc., close parentheses. I've uncovered a lot about how much my Catholic upbringing fucked me up and how affected I am by society's unrealistic expectations of women and sex. And on top of that, vulnerability and communication of desires can be so normal and natural for some people and so difficult and complicated for others. Rory, I really appreciate you giving a voice to that very real feeling. And Daniel, your openness and acceptance of sexuality has helped normalize something that for some people can be very loaded. I mean, we all changed a little bit when you told us what sounding is. I know I did. I'm saying that. Thanks for always keeping it real. XO. Okay, Zozo. That's what I think the name is.
Mm-hmm. Can I say one of the dumbest things I've ever said? Please?
Fine.
This is how fucking straight male I am. What are society's unrealistic expectations of women and sex?
Do you mean that?
Yeah, 100%.
I think this is we're gonna.
You feel like you might know?
With Lissa.
Why?
She's a woman. We're gonna check in with Lissa, but my guess is that I think there's a lot.
I'm being genuine.
Yes, I think there's a lot in body image. I think women, girls, children are brought up to believe that they are meant to look a certain way. I think they're brought up to believe that they're meant to behave a certain way. I think they're brought up in what many would consider a man's world, and they would say these are the expectations of who you're supposed to be. I think in terms of the expectations of sex. Yeah,
okay,
I think in terms of expectations of sex, I think it falls into the same category of expectations of being a homemaker, expectations of being in the kitchen, expectations of independently raising your children because your husband has the job. I think,
but those all are unrealistic expectations in society. How do you mean sex?
Well, I think society views women as, I think objectively, I think there's like women are viewed as objects, meaning, hey, you are meant to function as these things in our home, and then don't forget in the bedroom, this is the expectation of what you're supposed to bring to me. And I think that, am I close, Lissa?
I think that.
What if Lissa was like, Rory's more right than anyone I've ever heard in my life?
Or more wrong?
No, I don't think that what you said is wrong. I would go further to say that for a lot of exchanges for women, sex is meant to be some sort of transaction. Like,
yes,
if a man buys you a drink, there's an expectation that you now or dinner that now he is owed sex.
I bought you dinner. Why can I not kiss you at the end of the
night? You know
night?
what makes me sad really quick on that? I sadly, just due to the law of averages and our current society, you and I know a monster. I don't know who they are, but we must, right?
Monsters?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't knowingly know who they are.
If you know more than 5 men.
I hate to say this, but like, we probably know a rapist.
The odds are very, very good because we know a lot of men.
Now, of what you know and the type of person you are, do you know anybody who's like, if I buy her a drink, she's got to fucking put out? Me either.
I've never heard a man say that. Now,
it's obviously 100% true. It's obviously 100% true.
Right.
But I'm
but
like,
also,
who are these fucking... Obviously, I can open up social media, go to any woman's casual post about lunch and read comments saying these who are these men are.
But also, you have to factor in the reason that you and I maybe sit here and go, oh, I have not heard a man say that, is because socially we have found ourselves in positions where the very nature of us getting into a conversation like that with someone is probably a friend or someone who's of a similar nature in their interpretation of what buying a drink, going on a date even
Could you imagine if a guy said to you, so I buy her fucking drinks all night long, nothing, won't put out.
It almost sounds like a script from a movie.
I would look at this guy and go, what? I'm not perfect. But in this scenario, I would go, is this a bit?
Yeah.
You genuinely thought this?
I think this is
obviously these men exist ad nauseum.
I think it's because our
interpretation,
like for instance,
problem. You and I saying this, even though we sound so fucking great by even saying it, are sadly probably the exception, not the rule. Still in our fucking society that is still primed for Woodstock '99. Sorry. Listen,
I think it's also interpretation or perception because
you made me think of it when you said that. I was like, yeah, these fucks.
My perception of buying a drink like if I were single right now and I offered to buy a drink or bought a drink or whatever, my interpretation of that is, hey, I'm showing you one of my playing cards, and it's that I find you attractive or I'm interested, and I'm just saying, hey, I bought you a drink. But I think the way that I was raised, or maybe my natural interpretation of these things, is like, well, now I sit back and I wait to see what your card is. And if your card is like
blank,
you bought me a drink, and maybe things become flirtatious. To me, it's all nonverbal communication of something. There's also a world where you just buy someone a drink. In terms of what we're talking about, that would be me going, hey, I want to buy you a drink, which is an action you take when you're trying to communicate, like, hey, I'm trying to like talk to you or get to know you or flirt with you, or maybe you do buy the drink and you go, I'm going to buy your drink because I hope that maybe sparks the fact that later on we do have sex. And that is a realistic thought. But I think my expectation, I think that's what I think, is where I go, yeah, I bought her a drink, but then she didn't want the drink, or we didn't really talk, and I don't look at it and go, but now I'm out fucking $7 or whatever the fuck it would be. I would just go, oh, I just had to find out that was not the pitch for me to swing.
Sorry, I totally derailed what Liz was saying.
Pitch. I said pitch as I said it. I go, did someone think?
Well, that was something I was thinking about for like single women with sex, but also like within a relationship, I think there are certain, I mean, I don't think this applies to either of you. I don't think, I genuinely don't, but relax. But
she goes, when good guys.
Case closed.
We still don't even know. It could be
we still don't even know
insulting to us that she's about to say something good about other people.
I don't think it applies to you, but you guys are stupid, so maybe it does.
You know, like if it's really hot in LA right now, and maybe a woman like wants to not wear a lot of clothes at home.
Sure.
And all of a sudden that triggers some sort of like sexual interaction or engagement from her partner.
Yeah.
That's unwanted. She's just hot.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's been a long day and she takes her bra off and she just wants to go braless because she's tired of being in a bra.
Yeah.
And then her spouse or her partner is like, hell yeah. Like, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Like, it can be hard to be comfortable even in your own space as a woman sometimes.
Yes.
If there's an expectation that any move you make is triggering.
Because a man can have his shirt off in almost every state and county and town, But if a woman does it, it's instantly sexualized.
Well, I think in terms of
but
this,
I'm saying the sexualization is always present.
Sure.
Regardless of action or intent.
Well, my wife is so mature that if I took my shirt off, she wouldn't even look at me or even slightly consider having sex with me. And I think that's because she's very mature. It's not because she's not attracted
she's
to me.
A locust.
She's wildly
it's
attracted
because
to
she's
me.
A locust.
That is a fact.
She's an insect.
Yes, and it's also because she's a praying mantis. And I just find her attractive. There's big eyes. There's big bug eyes with insects.
Can I say finally on this?
Yeah, go for it.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. It makes me feel wildly uncomfortable, and I'm excited to not be so dumb.
Okay.
Because when that one sentence, I was like, "What are the unreal?"
Yeah.
I have no Sometimes you just gotta go, "Hey, I don't know."
Yeah.
If you say so, I have to trust you.
Yes.
Because I don't. My perspective, even if I thought it right, could still be wrong.
Yes. And stuff that I talk about to your point, there's stuff that I talk about in my act where also it's a comment on the varying degrees of sexuality that people have. I am wildly more sexual than my wife. And you have to find a middle ground. And I can't sit here and say everything Lissa said that I am like absolved of. Like I'm some angel. You know, if Jordan is like, yeah, I'm not wearing so much because it's hot. I am the guy who's like, we should have sex, right? Like I'm like, because you're almost naked and I can easily be naked so quickly. We should just have.
I'm naked under these clothes.
I'm already naked if you don't count my clothes. But it is that is a space to answer your question. It is this. It is a very difficult, uncomfortable space, and a lot of that, in terms of society's expectations, and I know how this can sound, but there's a lot of men whose perceptions aren't necessarily manifested on their own of why they're even drawn into those things. The same way a woman is like, well, I feel body issues and body images are such a thing because all of these magazines and stuff. We are equally affected in a different type of way by thinking that is who we are supposed to be. Oh, my expectation. Oh, a woman is supposed to look. Yeah. Oh, a woman is supposed to be sexual. It's why a lot of parents and people now worry about young people's perception of what sex is if it isn't taught in schools and talked about openly, and parents don't do the hard job of having conversations with their kids about sex. Because if a child's perception of sex only ever comes from something they saw in porn or pornography, it gives them a misperception of what their sexual partner may want when they have sex. So they might be like, what are you doing? You're not doing the thing that I thought it's supposed to be this, and it's supposed to come from this place. And it's actually, I think, traumatic and harmful for both parties.
The porno I saw in the alley behind Rosemary's house, no girl wants to.
Why does she hide her porn out there?
What?
Why does Rosemary hide her porn in the alley?
She set it out to be burned. It was old stuff. She didn't want it anymore.
Don't even start with me. She knew
don't
exactly.
You start with
don't
me.
you start with me. Don't you finish with me.
Wish
if I start with you, don't you finish with me.
I have theories on who threw that porn in that garbage can.
Give me one.
Bill Russell. Not the basketball player.
Okay, then I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Because I only want to hear that Bill Russell came to Rosemary's house and goes, Rosemary, come on, you can't.
Thankfully,
we got to get this
I might
out
be
of the
wrong
house.
on
What are
his
you
name,
doing with
so
this?
we can't be sued. Also, you're going to sue me for that. Liz, what else?
Well, I wanted to do a clarification and then another comment.
You two.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with, like, when you were saying that you're guilty of whatever if Jordan's wearing less clothes, with
I am
that turning you on, of like turn-ons are turn-ons.
Yes.
But it's what that a woman's partner's expectation is
about
what's going to happen next. So a desire versus an expectation. That's
Can I
just
ask you, Lissa, really quick? Do you also feel like, total outside perspective, I'm not imbuing this with anything other than a genuine question, do you also feel like we are in the most sexual agency for women than we've ever been? Like,
what do you mean by that?
Wear what you want to wear. Fuck the people.
Sexual power, independence,
or like the days of, like, I don't know. I just feel like we're in much more of a, like, the woman like, well, he finishes and then we're done. Like, no, fuck that. I'm having this sex too. Like, are we in way more of a sexual empowerment and agency of women through either dress, expression, wants, desires, needs? I mean, more people are sex workers now than ever. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, which is only natural, I guess, in terms of progression. There's only going to be more. But like the OnlyFans through like COVID and all these people being like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, who cares? Like, I can show my body. It doesn't make me, a bad mom or a horrible daughter or whatever bullshit society stuff people try to say to women.
I think the notion of agency in general, like that word has been used a ton, especially over the past few years, and I think that is. There's this huge comeuppance for women in all aspects, and that includes sex.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right, because we're doing kind of a massive overhaul about how women are perceived and what is considered, acceptable or unacceptable, and that, and in so many areas.
I feel like, and I could be wrong, maybe I'm more right, but I feel like there are way more men than there were 20 years ago who would say, you don't get to stare or obviously touch or even talk to a woman in a certain way because of how she's dressed. Whereas 20 years ago, it was more of a bullshit excuse than it is now.
Yeah,
like
you'll
find more men at the bar to be like, leave her the fuck alone than you would have. Well, I mean, I think it's regional. I spent 9 years of the last decade in a bar.
Yeah.
And I felt like in a very like young, hip part of Los Angeles. And I felt like there was a much more of a like if somebody was like, are you wearing a bra? Like men and women, including the woman herself, would be like, whoa, dude, what the fuck?
I think it's regional. I think
that that could be too.
Where it is the etiquette, and it's the talked about, and it's the willing to listen, and it's the, you go to plenty of places that are still like, well, I don't understand why women have jobs, and you would go, whoa, you're still there. Yeah. You're still at that point.
Yeah.
I think women supporting women is so essential right now, but to your point, the more men that take responsibility for leveling all of this bullshit out, the better we're going to be. So you're absolutely, I mean, if we're getting pushback there, because the fact of the matter is, like, society is still run by men, like it just is, and we're trying to level that out or even it out, whatever. But that change is going to be the most impactful, I think. The other comment I wanted to make is,
that's all the time we have.
Got it. Those were like two examples.
This feels like a Q&A, and honestly, it's making me feel so important.
Those were two examples that I gave of this, like, expectations.
Right.
I bet every woman listening to this podcast has a different list of examples that they could give about expectations.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's not just with that. I mean, it's with all aspects of being a woman and societal expectations of a woman. There's just this ongoing list.
Yeah.
And so I just those were two examples I gave, and I know that all women out there.
I know we really there's not a single question mark in this letter, but I know that we like really focus on that. I do think though, and this is key, right? Because it's being talked about here by the person who wrote this. It's being talked about here of like, you talking about it, Rory, resonated with them. They identified that they want to be in sex therapy. They're uncovering a lot about how Catholic upbringings fucked them up and how it affected them. And then, they talk about, even when we talk about it, this feels self-serving, but that's not why I'm doing it. Like my openness or acceptance of sexuality, that we are in a time of more people, hopefully outside of those like cultures where it's like, you fucking shut the fuck up, but like outside of that, people, maybe even they are in their own ways in those towns and cultures and cities, being like, I think I want to be able to say what I want. Like, hopefully we are in more of like an open. Well, it feels like we are, but like you said, man, the bubble we live in is fucking big and thick.
Well, a sped up backstory.
Sexual.
A sped up backstory and very as fast as possible.
Okay.
When I was doing those improvised shows in Atlanta and we filmed it, you're making the whole show up. And so there was a night, I believe it was Wednesday night, where I didn't have something to say, and I just said that I had watched gay porn. My brain was like, just say that you've watched it. Like, make a confession. Say something vulnerable. Say something that you think is like, here's the thing. This is a topic. And I remember saying it, and the light bulb went off of how many people I could just sense were like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, like, why? And then I just started, I was like, well, I don't know what this show is, so here's why, or here's what I found out, or here's what I have watched in porn, or here's what I'm into. And I found, like, being very vulnerable about it was actually not that difficult. And it was very relieving to, like, say all of this stuff that was sexual. And I have found over time, because my current hour has a lot of sex stuff in it, that's mostly what it is, all of it comes from a place of vulnerability and wanting to say these absurd things that I think people maybe think are taboo, that you're not supposed to talk about, and try to put it out there to say, I think it's almost absurd that we don't ordinarily, in such a very normal way, talk about sex and sexuality, even the extreme things that you think are so different, or if you think they're weird or bad, like saying them, because I think that it's a benefit to everyone to get this thing off of their chest, to go, hey, you might be into something, and you think that defines you in some way as like you're different, but there is a little bit of relief if you found out. No, a ton of people. I mean, just at the base point of going, there are people who enjoy sex and there are people who don't enjoy sex. There's people who don't enjoy sex because there isn't something about it. Nope. They just don't enjoy it. It's not for them. Yep. There's so many different categories that you would go, okay, so what if you do enjoy sex? And someone being like, I don't know, maybe I've only had this kind of sex, so I don't really understand. Like, to me, it is the same as going, well, I want to be cultured in art. I want to be cultured in food. I want to know what wine. I now view sex as those things. It's different in the sense of going, well, it does, in some cases, maybe involve another person who you need to be on that same page with you. But instead of looking at it as just as making a baby or making love or whatever, I think we also, men and women and everybody, I think, has like different variations of lustful things that you want. And I think Catholic upbringing makes you think that that is sinful and you're going to go to hell, but you didn't put that there. It wasn't your choice. The things that turn you on or you like, you're meant to feel a sense of shame about, and I think that is what's caused the recipe to fucking spoil, when I really think that's what makes us so interesting and unique. And when you meet people who really openly talk about their sexuality and what they like, your first instinct is almost like, whoa, this person's really opening up. But very quickly you go, oh, this person almost seems like they're not afraid of anything, because they're simply saying, yeah, I mean, maybe it's weird, but I didn't decide it. I just fucking like ... You know what I mean?
And I go about it in a healthy way.
I think if you openly talked about it, you would maybe find young people stepping into their sexuality, learning how to go about it a healthy way.
Right.
And maybe learning how to control their urges in a mature way and control their expectations of women, for instance, in a mature way.
So that then
they can
try anal. Try it.
Try anal.
That goes for men and women. Get in there.
Get in there.
Breathe.
That's how we end it. Breathe through it. This is a great letter.
I agree.
I
read it. I read it or you read it?
I read it. Well,
that's how good we are at this show.
We're so good, our voices are identical.
And we can't even remember.
We wish you well.
Sincerely.
Your pen pals,
Rory
and Daniel.
We're about to have a falling down moment.
What?
The movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Remember Michael Keaton?
Douglas.
Yep.